Hey guys, I just saw a very unfortunate situation that took place in Canada, and I wanted to say to everyone, that I hope that that brother made it home safely. I hope that he now has a different perspective and a better sense of what to do and what not to do while you're out in the world. Um, that part where the young guy went like he did this little move and shit and got knocked the fuck out like right there. That does not reflect him. That reflects his camp, and he might need to go get the Dream Chasers or the 305 Killers.
Rick Ross built his whole career on one image, the boss. Private jets, a custom Gulfstream he named Maybach Air, a mansion so big people call it the Promised Land. So why did a photo of him standing in line at a regular airport gate waiting for a commercial flight just blow up the internet? And why is 50 Cent, his rival of almost 2 decades, sitting back enjoying every second of it? Let's get into it. Okay, if you enjoyed this, make sure to follow, like, share with your friends and family, and drop your thoughts in the comments. All right, here's how this actually started. Earlier this month, photos started circulating online showing a man who looked exactly like Rick Ross sitting in a commercial airport terminal, waiting to board a regular flight. No private hangar, no entourage clearing the way, just Ross in line like everybody else. For most people, that's nothing. For Rick Ross specifically, it's a problem, because Ross has spent years building an image around private aviation. He's talked about it in his music, he's talked about it in interviews. He reportedly spent 6 months hand-picking a $35 million custom Gulfstream G550, then put another $500,000 into a custom paint job just for that plane. He calls it Maybach Air. So when a clip surfaced of him at the gate for a commercial flight, the internet did exactly what you'd expect. It went off. It didn't help that Drake had just dropped a line that fans immediately connected to Ross. If I'm lying, I'm flying economy. I bet I know who I see. Whether Drake meant Ross specifically or not, the timing was brutal. Drake fans ran with it instantly, and the clip of Ross at the gate started spreading everywhere within hours. Now here's where 50 Cent comes in, because he wasn't about to let a moment like this pass quietly. You have to understand the history first. 50 Cent and Rick Ross have been feuding since the late 2000s. Diss tracks, interviews, social media wars, all of it. And one of 50's favorite long-running bits is questioning whether Ross's lifestyle is actually real, or just in 50's words, a presentation. That's not a new line, by the way. 50 has said it before, directly. On the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, talking about Ross's Georgia mansion, 50 said it plainly. You see that big white elephant, that property that he lives at? It costs more than the nightclubs. He can stay until he's a squatter, holding on to the leg of the chair that moves. But that's what it is. It's just part of a presentation. Then he took it further, joking about Ross apparently cutting his own grass. What kind of rich man cut his own grass? You trying to save money? So when the commercial flight photos hit, 50 already had the narrative loaded and ready. He jumped on it on Instagram, amplifying the story, keeping the joke alive. And he wasn't alone. Uncle Murda, who'd already been beefing with Ross separately, posted himself being driven through an airport on his way home, making it clear he wasn't hiding the fact that, unlike Ross, he flies commercial without shame. For 50, this wasn't really about the flight. It was the latest piece of evidence in an argument he's been making about Ross for years, that the boss image and the bank account might not match. But here's the thing about Rick Ross. He never goes down quiet. Ross addressed it directly on his Instagram story, and his response was somehow even more chaotic than the photos themselves. He said, "For the ones who want to know where my jet at, obviously didn't get the memo it's being updated with Starlink. You know what Starlink is? Yeah, that's the $500,000 Wi-Fi. That's where my jet at. And I chose to fly commercial to go to Colombia to party with Trick Daddy and Ball Greasy." Then he added the line that's been quoted everywhere since. "If I send my jet to go pick my mama up and I fly commercial, that's what I do for mama." Now, whether you buy that explanation or not, Ross didn't stop there. He went directly after both 50 and Uncle Murda with some genuinely brutal personal jabs, calling out Murda's appearance and accusing him of riding 50's coattails for a paycheck. Things got personal fast, on both sides. And this isn't even the first time Ross has had to defend his finances publicly. Back in 2024, a watch expert named Nico Leonard publicly accused Ross of wearing a fake $3 million Audemars Piguet watch, the green emerald one Ross nicknamed Green Pepper. Ross never directly denied it. Instead, he clapped back by mocking the expert's appearance and showing off his car collection instead of receipts. Sound familiar? That's the pattern with Ross. When the authenticity of his wealth gets questioned, he doesn't usually produce proof. He produces a comeback. So why does this cycle keep repeating? Why does Rick Ross keep ending up at the center of "is he actually rich" conversations? Part of it is just math. Ross built his commercial peak in an era, roughly 2008 through 2014, when album sales were still real money. Port of Miami, Trilla, Deeper Than Rap, those records moved units in a way that doesn't really exist anymore. Streaming pays a fraction of what album sales used to pay, and an artist's lifestyle costs don't shrink just because the revenue model changed underneath the entire industry. But the bigger part is that Ross's entire brand was built on the gap between persona and reality, and that gap is precisely what makes him an easy target. He named himself after a real drug trafficker. He built the boss image on top of that. When you build a brand on projection, every inconsistency, a fake watch claim, an airport photo, anything gets read by the internet as proof the whole thing might be hollow, whether that's fair or not. 50 Cent understands this better than almost anyone because his own story has actually held up to scrutiny. The shooting, the come-up from Southside Queens, the real documented business wins with G-Unit and Vitamin Water and Power. When 50 questions someone else's authenticity, he's doing it from a position that's already been tested publicly and survived. That's exactly why his jabs land the way they do. So where does this actually go? Realistically, nowhere dramatic, at least not legally. This isn't a felony case or a financial scandal with paperwork behind it. It's a 15-year-old rap beef that found new fuel in a viral airport photo and a well-timed Drake lyric. Ross has weathered "is he broke" talk before, and he's never once stopped flexing in response. If anything, he doubles down every time. But the fact that it keeps happening, the watch, the mansion jokes, now the flight, tells you something about how fragile a brand built entirely on luxury optics can be in the social media era. One photo taken by a stranger at an airport gate can undo years of careful image building in about 6 hours. So here's the real question. Do you think Ross actually explained the flight, or did Starlink Wi-Fi just become the most expensive cover story in hip-hop? Drop your take in the comments and let me know, is this beef ever actually ending, or is 50 Cent just going to keep finding reasons to bring up Rick Ross for the rest of both of their careers? If you want the next update the second this thing escalates again, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.